Jimothy,
Rosanna.
did you know that in 2019, the CEO of eBay,
I've heard of him, yeah.
he was caught up in a scandal that involved harassing a random old married couple.
What?
They had live cockroaches and spiders and even a pig carcass mailed to their home. They had explicit, if you know what I mean, magazine, if you know what I mean, subscriptions addressed to them but delivered to their neighbours, like really embarrassing ones. Their house was posted online as the location of a swingers party.
Hey.
Trackers were placed on their cars and a funeral wreath was couriered to their front door with their names on it.
Oh.
All because this nerdy little couple wrote an online newsletter for people who like selling things on eBay. So I'm Rosie.
And that's it?
This is Just the Gist, murder. And today I'm giving you just the gist, murder, of the eBay stalking scandal.
That's incredible.
Yes. This story is nuts. And I want to say up top that I wrote down her name because I always forget to say. Gisna Olivia sent this link to me and suggested this story. She had just sent me like a little Instagram reel. I'd never heard this story.
I've never heard of this before.
No one else had sent me this story ever. So Olivia, props. Thank you so much, because I wasn't even going to do this mini this week. Usually like they're more done in advance, but I was like,
this story is wild.
I got really hyperfixated.
This story is wild.
It happened like 2019 and literally the CEO he had to resign.
I mean, like, and this behavior isn't just kind of like shits and giggles, like sending a wreath with their names on it and a pig's carcass is like mafia level threats.
Okay.
For like what? What do you say they did?
I'm going to tell you right now.
They wrote an article.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Wild.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Wild.
So I'm going to give you just the gist now of the eBay stalking scandal.
What a petty prince.
All right, here we go. So Ina and David Steiner are in their like 50s-ish.
Ina Steiner.
Ina Steiner. Yeah, I didn't even, because I have not said it out loud because I've just been reading it, like researching Ina Steiner.
What a great name.
Aww.
Great name.
Ina and David Steiner. They're like 50s-ish. They've been married for like 30 years and they live in a small suburb outside of Boston in the US. They are, and I mean this with complete affection, just total nerds.
Yeah.
They're a really nerdy couple. From all the video interviews I've seen with them, they're very sweet. They work together from home. And Ina is a journalist who's been reporting on e-commerce since 1999. That's her passion, like, subject.
And for the dum-dums like me, e-commerce is like online shopping?
Basically.
Yeah.
So she had written a book called Turn eBay Data into Dollars. But Ina, she's always been really interested in the seller side of e-commerce.
Uh-huh.
So she is a member of like the Online News Association, the Investigative Reporters and Editors Organization. Like she's just a very unironically, joyfully earnest person who really loves writing about the very exciting world of online e-commerce. Like that's what she loves.
Yeah.
And David does all the like website stuff. So she's the journalist and he runs the website stuff. So Ina and David, since 1999, they have been running a website called E-commerce Bytes, like BYTES.
Cool.
They started that was 4 years after eBay itself was founded, and they would cover stories like, you know, eBay raising seller fees and like Amazon changing its return policies and like postage rate updates and like, you know, Etsy's new shipping guidelines. Like they just are essentially an online, they say website, it's more of a newsletter for online sellers, people who sell stuff online. That's Ina's passion. That's what they write about. I mean, in Ina's own words, she said, all they ever wanted to be was, I love this so much, it's so earnest, a conduit, a place where sellers could tell their problems, share information, and have a voice.
Yeah,
just made me go,
really cute.
What a glamorous dream.
But that's some
a conduit where sellers can tell their problems, share information, and have a voice.
But there are people whose like full-time job is selling things on eBay.
Stuff on
so
eBay,
like something like this would be like super beneficial. This would be part of your community. This would be part of your industry.
Well, and that's why like Ina and David are really good at being that conduit where sellers could tell their problem, share information, and have a voice because their like little e-commerce newsletter ended up getting over 600,000 readers, probably more now actually after all this. And it wasn't just sellers who would read it. After a while, it got so much influence that like, you know, industry insiders read it and executives at the companies she wrote about read it, and like Wall Street analysts would read it, like people who are trading maybe in those companies and want to see if there's any problems with them.
I see, yes.
So amongst all of that, eBay executives were keeping track of the little old, e-commerce bites.
What did they think of it?
Well, this story's about to get weird.
They loved it at the end.
So in 2019, Ina publishes a story that sounds just really boring and inside baseball-y of the e-commerce world. She publishes a story about eBay's annual report, company report. Specifically, she writes about the CEO, Devin Wenig, and his compensation package, so essentially his salary. And she points out in this article that his salary was 152 times the average salary of an eBay employee.
Sounds about right.
And like, it's not like she uncovered some secret. That's public information that companies have to put in their report. Like, she just read it in the report that eBay released. She didn't like stealthily go after him or anything. She read the thing they put out there. But Devin Wenig, like, he did not like that she wrote this article because at this time in 2019, his job was under a lot of pressure because there was this big hedge fund that had purchased like a really big stake in eBay. So they now had quite a bit of control over, you know, some decision-making at eBay. And they had sent a letter to the board basically saying like, the company's underperforming, you're not doing great. Like, basically kind of like, we want to fire the CEO because we just like invested a lot of money in you and you're doing crap. So Devin Wenig feels like his job's kind of on the line, and Ina had in the previous few months written a few stories about eBay underperforming because of like specific decisions he had made as CEO, and he'd been keeping track of those stories. So when he saw this post about his salary, he cracked it. And he forwarded the post to his chief communications officer, Steve Weimer. And all of this is on the record because when the investigation eventually happened, none of they're tech CEOs and executives, but they don't like wipe their history or whatever because men are stupid. But the communications officer responded, "We need to crush this lady."
Oh.
Little Ina. It's like she literally just runs a newsletter for people who sell things on eBay, like vintage Polly Pockets on eBay. Like, settle down, boys, settle down. So Devin Wenig then replies, "If we're ever going to take her down, now is the time." Like, what are you talking about? And then they forwarded their messages and the story to eBay's head of security. To me, their head of security is just the guy who is the manager of the security guards at their head office. But they have like a head of security who's like basically like a mafia dude, right? So they forward it to him and they say, "This is a biased troll who needs to get burned down." And then the communications guy texts the security guy and says, "I want to see ashes as long as it takes, whatever it takes. Burn her to the ground." So like, this is literally the CEO, the head of communications at a Fortune 500 company getting in such a tizzy over a little lady's like e-commerce newsletter that she runs from her house with her husband, that they're messaging each other things like burn her to the ground. Like, what? I feel like they're just on a lot of cocaine. That's what I always think about these guys.
And aren't they like getting criticism from elsewhere?
Yeah,
like,
she's not the only one. She's not the only one.
There are like huge financial like publications saying
the
similar things.
Times,
like,
is that a thing?
But again, like maybe they're just too hard to go after.
Yeah.
So weird.
So, the head of security, James Barr, he calls a meeting at eBay's California headquarters, and he literally, his security team said later, posts a map of Natick, Boston, that's the suburb Ina and David live in, on the conference room wall, And he's like, let's get started. like I swear to God, this guy thinks he's in a movie, and there's proof later that he kind of actually does.
It feels like the Little Rascals, like they're in the He-Man, Eine Steiner hating club.
Eine Steiner hating club. So like this is crazy because like what I'm about to describe to you is literally an organized, coordinated operation like carried out by all these senior employees. Like this isn't just like anonymous weirdos getting annoyed about someone, you know, calling out their tweet. Like this is...
And they're not like, just to clarify, they're not like teenagers either.
This is the
they're not
CEO.
14-year-olds.
No, the CEO, the head of comms of eBay, of a Fortune 500 company, the head of security as well. Like they're all men in, you know, I think late 40s, 50s. Like it's wild. Like imagine, I don't know, like imagine like someone like Elon Musk or
I could
like
imagine that actually.
Yeah, like Bill Gates or it's like this, it's those kind of tech CEO bros, right?
Wow.
So it's grown men who've been professionals for a long time who have like HR files and like LinkedIn profiles and that say things like, you know, delivering good results and backwards synergy overflow. Like that's their universe, yet they're acting like they're in the movie Goodfellas. Like it's bizarre. So it all starts with a message on Twitter. Ina gets a DM on Twitter from just an anonymous account and it says, what's your problem with eBay? You know that's how we pay rent. And she's like, that's weird, but she assumes maybe it's an unhappy eBay seller, like, because she writes stories about problems with eBay and maybe, you know. So she just doesn't respond to it. And then later that day, the person just keeps messaging, like, are you there? And she doesn't reply. And then like, well, are you going to effing answer? And she's like not replying. And eventually, after she doesn't reply all day, a message comes through saying, I guess I'm going to have to get your attention another way, bitch.
Ooh.
And Ina and David are just like, what? Like they try and look up the name, but it's just a random name.
Yeah.
Like it's not anything. It's like, you know, when it was the egg, the profile picture of a Twitter person who, you know, is anonymous. So they're just like, that's weird, troll, block, whatever. The next day, Ina wakes up, opens her email inbox, and it is flooded with like hundreds of like confirmation emails that she'd signed up to websites and newsletters like, this made me laugh so much, like the Pleasure Pantry, so a lot of things like that. But then also the IBS Patient Support Group, Orgasm Daily, Sin City Fetish Night, the Communist Party, and the Satanic Temple.
Wow.
Like just random things.
These seem like fun groups.
Yeah. And then another DM from that Twitter account comes through and says, you don't have the balls to talk to me. Stop hiding behind your computer screen, you effing C-word. I know.
Pot kettle.
So they then also post this Twitter person posts the Steiner's home address publicly online, encouraging like people to go to their house for yard sales. Like, so they start posting like, just so, oh yeah, yard sale here. But also like.
That's scary.
That, oh, we're going to have like, you know, sex parties at this address. And they start posting that. Then they start doing the thing where they start sending like porn magazines addressed to them, but like it's been like their names, but then sent to their neighbors' addresses. Like it's accidentally gone to the wrong address, but like really offensive ones, like, you know, addressed to David and the magazine is like barely 18, like that kind of stuff, like sent to their neighbors.
Do people turn up to their house thinking there's a yard sale or a sex party? Like,
people start turning up.
That's scary.
I know, it's scary. And then like deliveries start. And so this is like, these deliveries are deranged. So Ina and David get a call from a company saying, we can't fulfill your order because there's a problem with your credit card. And David's like, what's the order? And they said for your wet specimen. And David's like, what is a wet specimen? And the woman on the phone is like, oh, you ordered a pig fetus, like preserved in formaldehyde. And he's like, no, we did not. Unconfirm.
Ina, did you order a pig fetus?
A pig fetus, a like preserved pig fetus. So,
why would, I guess, schools?
Yeah, I think it is for school, that kind of thing. And so because there'd been like a lot of this the yard sale stuff, people turning up their house saying, oh, we, followed this tweet or whatever, and then all the emails and then this pig thing, they call the police.
Of course, yeah.
So a police officer comes to their house and they're sort of trying to explain it to him. He takes down the details. And while he's there, there's a knock at the door and it's a delivery. And he's like, well, why don't you open this while I'm here? So they open it and it looks like all flesh and hair. And when they pull it out, it's a quite famous pig mask that is from the horror movie Saw.
Oh.
And so they got that delivery with the policeman standing right there, which I think was helpful because then he was like, okay,
this is fucked up.
This is effed up. And then over the following week, they get delivered a box of live cockroaches. They get delivered a box of live spiders. They get delivered a box of live maggots. And then a book arrives addressed to David, and the book is titled Surviving the Loss of a Spouse.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah.
That's dark and scary.
Yeah,
I think at that point I would have moved house.
Yeah, well, David said in an interview later it was a death threat and to be followed up a few short days later with a funeral wreath with our names on it, an expensive funeral wreath. It only confirmed that these people were going to kill or hurt Ina or us both. I was terrified I was going to lose her. And so at this point they said there's a couple things I watched for this. There's a great documentary about it called Whatever It Takes Inside the eBay Scandal. And also 60 Minutes in the US did like a little story on it. And in the 60 Minutes story, Ina says like they started sleeping in separate rooms because they were like, well, if someone comes, at least one of us will escape.
Yeah.
That's how scared
the royals
they were.
Fly separately.
Yeah. Like how the start of the movie King Ralph.
We talk about the start of the movie King Ralph all the time.
With, what's his name?
Goodman.
John Goodman. And the entire royal family's getting a photograph taken and they all get electrocuted and the only surviving relative is John Goodman.
A.K.A. Ralph.
Ralph. Best movie ever.
American. It's amazing.
So they start sleeping in separate rooms to avoid a murderous King Ralph situation.
Why wouldn't they have moved at this point? Because I would be like, this is some serious stuff.
It's only been a few weeks.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you'd rack your brain and be like, who could be doing this?
They are. The whole time they're trying to figure it out. They don't understand it.
An article like that is like so small fry and innocuous.
But
you wouldn't even link because you're like, what have I written that is like so outrageous?
They've not linked it to like any specific article. The only link to eBay they have right now is that initial tweet message that was sent to them saying like, why do you write that about eBay? It helps pay our rent. And then like, I'm going to make you pay attention or whatever they said. And then all of this started happening. So they kind of like have that one link to eBay. But again, they're thinking more it's a seller maybe. Like it just doesn't occur to them that it's eBay.
eBay themselves,
Yeah. But then like scary stuff starts happening in person. So James Bohr, the head of security, he has a bunch of like his security team and he gets them to fly from California to Boston and they drive like to their house and they start surveilling the house. And they sort of planned to install a GPS tracker on the car, but the garage was locked. And so then they went and bought tools to like maybe break into the garage. And like one of the colleagues of James's said that at one point he even joked, but she was like, I don't know if he's joking, about delivering a running chainsaw and a bag of human feces to their porch. And here's the thing, like James Bohr is weird. He's a former CIA guy. He is the senior director of safety and security at eBay. And when I'm talking about his team, I'm like his team flew over to Boston and his team are helping surveil. He only hires young, hot women. Like with no experience.
Classic James behavior.
In security. And he calls them, because his name's James, his nickname's Jim, he calls them Jim's Angels. So he has these young hot girls around him. eBay's put him in charge of security and they're like, well, you're former CIA, you know how to hire a team. So he's like, yeah, and he hires these young hot, like 25-year-old girls, calls them Jim's Angels. And so
what a Creeposaurus Rex.
They're the ones who are working on like this operation with him. And so Veronica Z is one of the women who is part of Jim's Angels. And she's kind of one of the main ones because she ends up being the one who initially gets caught in all of this, and that's how the whole thing falls down. And she is actually the only person from inside the operation who agreed to talk to the documentary, whatever it takes. So she's describing like a lot of this really weird stuff going on in that weird little security unit at eBay where it's just this one guy who hired all these hot girls and he gets told, can you take down this website? And he's like, yep, let's go. And she said he brought them all into a conference room before they went to Boston and he made them watch Zero Dark 30, Training Day, American Gangster, but then he particularly made them watch the film Body of Lies. And Veronica said, he then said, essentially, this is what my plan is. And in Body of Lies, it's like, this is just the gist, so I won't go into it, but there is a lot in that movie about like hacking into people's bank accounts and buying things that make them look bad or hacking into their email and like subscribing to, you know, I don't know, pedo newsletters and, you know, just basically using the internet to F with people's lives. So he shows them the movie Body of Lies and says, and Training Day and Zero Dark 30 and says, this is what my plan is.
But I'm just also confused with like the goal is to get the website closed down, but they're receiving all these things that aren't like close down the website. They're getting things that are like, we're going to murder you. Like, I don't understand where they're wanting, like, where's the communication that they want the website closed down?
But
it's coming?
Do they want the website closed down? Because Jim of Jim's Angels has a plan.
He does.
So Veronica Z says like, as they're flying over to Boston from California, he starts telling her all this stuff they're going to be doing when they get there, like surveilling the house and putting a tracker on the car. And she says on the plane, she starts thinking like, I think this guy's a bit nuts. But
I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I've made a huge mistake. But she's like, but he's the head of security at eBay. Like he's technically an executive at eBay. But then she's like, but why is he calling us Jim's Angels? And why is it just me and these other girls my age flying over with this guy? But she kind of says at that point, she was like, well, at that point, I sort of thought, what do I know? Like, I'm lucky to have this job. Surely, like, they have a reason to be doing this. Surely maybe this is how things are done. You know what I mean? So she said later the culture he created was, if you don't do what I tell you, you'll never be able to find another job. And, like, she just kept saying there has to be a good reason for this. Like, maybe I'm not seeing something. Like, it's eBay. I'm working in the corporate center of eBay. Like,
very corporate.
It makes no sense that this would be weird, you know? So the way it all sort of comes crumbling down is that Jim has brought Jim's Angels over to Boston and they are like surveilling the house. They're going to put a tracker on the car, but then the car's locked in the garage and they're like, oh shit, the car's locked in the garage. And so then while they're there, they're just buying gift cards, which they had been doing in California, and then using the gift cards to make all the purchases and all the deliveries. And she's like, we were just in a hotel, like just ordering stuff and have more stuff delivered to their house. Like we didn't really know what to do. But then James, he was like, let's hire a van and just start driving by the house a bit just to, you know, freak him out. And he makes Veronica hire the van because you can't hire a van with a gift card. So this was one of the first things she did, like in her own name. And then David notices the van driving past the house a bunch of times. And so he gets a photo of the license plate and he takes it to the police who have like been on the case, and they like run the license plate. They find the rental agency, the police find the person who rented it. It's Veronica Z. They don't recognize the name, but they're on the phone with the police going, no, we don't know that person. But they Google, and because of like the work that Ina does, on her LinkedIn, it comes up, Veronica Z, eBay. And she said she just goes, oh my God,
This is eBay.
She works for eBay.
Oh.
She works for eBay. It was bizarre. The cockroaches,
the only thing that makes
pig
sense.
fetuses, everything. She was like, this is someone who works for eBay? So then the police, I can't believe this guy, former CIA agent, has convinced eBay that he can be their international head of security, watches a few Hollywood movies, hires some hot chicks, and flies to Boston, and that's who they've put their faith in, right? So the police go to the Ritz-Carlton hotel where they're staying, and they just call up to Veronica's room because they found her straight away. And so she says, oh, yeah, totally. They tell her it's the police. She's like, yep, I'll be down. Just give me a sec. And she never comes down. She just bolts.
Yeah.
And so at that point, the police have enough to go on, really. They figure out where the funeral wreath was bought from, because it was bought with a gift card from a grocery store that was a few miles from the eBay headquarters. Then they go and look at that grocery store, and the footage is Veronica Z.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they're like, okay, we have enough now to at least know it's an employee at eBay. They don't know anything else about eBay, but then the FBI comes in and they start looking into it all. And essentially what is crazy about this was the plan. So when the CEO got upset and was crush them, burn them to the ground, and the comms manager was to the head of security, yeah, do whatever it takes, we'll back you, just get this lady's,
Vengeance.
Get her to stop or whatever. It's almost like James Ball, it's he didn't want to ruin her livelihood. And so when I found out that this was how he wanted to do it, I was so surprised. So his plan was to sort of white knight this. So he was we will harass them, we'll mess with them, we'll terrify them, we'll get them just so petrified and scared for their lives about whoever is stalking them. And then we will come in as eBay and say, we know this is happening to you because, I don't know, the police contacted us for maybe some help or whatever. We're going to help. We appreciate everything you do for the industry. We're going to put our resources behind this to really figure this out and stop this for you. And I know from your face you're thinking, how does that make sense? It doesn't.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. That was Jim's Angel's plan was just mess with them badly, so then we can come in and eBay can be their heroes, and then they'll never want to write anything bad about eBay again.
That's so weird. That's
so juvenile.
Manipulative, toxic relationship kind of stuff.
It is, but it's
very teenage, yeah.
But
juvenile.
it's also juvenile.
Juvenile is very, very correct, actually.
It's juvenile. It does make me think that is what a man who hires a bunch of 22-year-old women and calls them Jim's Angels would think to do. And all the stuff that they're doing, all the stuff that they're sending, and how he's kind of thinking he's in a movie and then flying over there and wanting to put a tracker on the car. It's it's just really juvenile. But and also, then for the whole plan to be well, I'll get them she'll never write anything bad about eBay again if we're the ones who come in and save her.
But how do you save her? What did you be like?
That's the thing. It doesn't make sense. He didn't think the plan through really. He's just an idiot. And I don't think this is the kind of thing that the CEO, he was crush them, do what you have to do. It's not, I don't know how much it was so just go and do it. He delegated that task.
I feel if a CEO told me that, I would be oh, this CEO wants me to litigate.
But it's the head of security though.
Yeah.
I think he went to the head of the security and the former CIA guy because he didn't want it to be because the lawyers would be you can't do anything. She's a journalist and she was writing publicly. She's just reporting on the information we released to the public.
True.
I think he wanted something dodgy done with this security guy. But, it's one of the FBI agents said it was so bizarre, the fact that these women, once we caught the team and it all unraveled, and these 3 22-year-old or 25-year-old women told us how it all worked. And essentially he just, put up the map of the town, brought them into the conference room, showed them a bunch of gangster movies, and then said, like, so let's start thinking about stuff we're going to send them. And they said, like, we just sat around. We'd go to the shops, we'd buy gift cards, and then we'd come back to the office. They said, like, we'd have some wine, and we'd just think of the most messed up things we could send them. And so when you think about it, that is what 22-year-olds would do. Would send you a box of cockroaches and, like, send porn in your name to your next-door neighbor's house. Like, this FBI agent.
It's a plot of Mean Girls, Like, it's
Actually, maybe Jim Bohr was a genius because, like, if you want people who are scary and threatening, you get a bunch of young women. You get a bunch of teenage girls.
Terrifying.
You get a bunch of youths. But this FBI agent said in the documentary later, the Steiners weren't picturing a group of young women in a conference room in California having drinks, watching movies, and brainstorming things to send them. I really don't think they had any idea about the actual terror they were creating on the other side of the country. Like, it's just bizarre. And then the one thing we sort of have proof that the higher-ups did know what was going on, because they later tried to say, we just delegated it and, we didn't know he'd be crazy.
Because it would be weird for the CEO to be like, so how have you got any plans? Like, yep, we've sent them a pig's head and we've sent the board, and the CEO would be like, oh my God, you've done what? You've done what now?
Because the CEO did send a message saying, you can do all these things, you can get all this stuff sent, you can do all of this, but you can't get them to stop posting on this little blog.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you're calling it a little blog, why do you care so much, you man baby? Like, it's just so, so bizarre. So it all unravels very quickly. Like, from the second David gets that photo of the van, they trace it to Veronica. Veronica's like, I'll be right down, and runs off. Yeah, like down the drain pipe out the window. But then they just, once they have her name, the whole thing unravels very, very quickly. So the FBI gets involved, and it kind of becomes like a big news story because they trace it to the CEO, the head of communications. Like, this is
all those 22-year-olds would just start talking.
Yeah, of course
away.
they did. Of course, they were petrified. And they sort of also talked about a culture working there that was quite threatening and abusive, and Jim being weird and making them watch all these weird movies, and like, it all just comes unraveling. And like I said, none of these men deleted any of their online communications. So you can sort of track all the way through that, like, they all know what's happening, and it's been like a concerted, organized effort to mess with little David and Ina Steiner. It's like ridiculous. So, of course, as is the way with this stuff, the like white male big time CEO executives get in the least amount of trouble than anyone.
Of course.
So in the end, about 7 people who worked for eBay's security unit, they all plead guilty to like stalking and cyber stalking stuff. So James Bohr, Jimmy of Jim's Angels, he gets sentenced to almost 5.5 years in prison. A few other people get like 2 years. Some other people get like, I think the head of communications gets like 1.5 years like suspended or something, so he doesn't actually go to prison. The girls all get time but home confinement. So they all get like, I think one of them gets 2 years, another one gets, I think Veronica Z gets 3 years of like probation, but the first year has to be spent at home on home confinement. And then, but so they're still, like, they don't have to go to actual prison, but they get
punished.
That's a harsh punishment. And then in 2024, eBay, like the company, agrees to pay a $3 million criminal fine, which was the maximum. And they did accept responsibility for their employees' actions, even though they did try to fight it. But in the end, they were like, that was the easiest thing to do, was just say fine. Like, because they're our employees, legally, we have to accept like responsibility for their actions. So we'll pay the fine, but like, that was just a crazy guy and some hot girls who did their own thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And also it's like, it's a company, it's worth like, I think $80 billion or something. Like $3 million is.
Did that money go to the Steiners?
No, because that was a criminal fine. Okay, so that was just a fine.
Yeah.
And so this is crazy. The CEO, Devin Wenig, He resigned amidst this whole thing, but he got a $57 million exit package, a $57 million golden parachute. His lawyers argued that take her down and burn her to the ground referred to lawful action, like let's sue her for defamation or something.
Burn her to the ground is very strong language.
He never got criminally charged.
Wow.
And he ended up being elected to the board of General Motors. And Steve Weimer, the communications, crushed this lady, I want to see ashes. He was fired by eBay amidst all of this, like when the investigation was happening. And a company-wide notice got sent out to everybody if they were involved to not delete any of your company emails, messages, whatever, to preserve evidence for the investigation. He was like, lol, no. As soon as he got fired, he just wiped. Yeah. He deleted all his stuff. Yep. So he's the only one who thought to do that. And he did say later that he denies it. He says, no, if I did that, I'd be sitting in a jail cell right now. And it's actually, you'd probably be sitting in a jail cell if you
Absolutely.
hadn't.
I mean, as if you wouldn't.
Denies it.
As someone's like, oh, we're doing an investigation. If you could just hold on to all that incriminating evidence, that would be wonderful. No, you would delete it for sure.
Yeah, he denies it. I mean, it didn't matter anyway because all of his communication was with the other people in the team and none of them deleted theirs. Yeah. So it's nice thought deleting it, but it's all communication with other people. It's not your journal. So he denies deleting it, but it's
come on,
whatever. But he also doesn't get criminally charged. And do you know what his job is now? His next job after this, after it was public in the news that he was involved in this, that the despicable, bizarre pig fetuses, sending cockroaches, sending porn, stalking a little couple. He then got hired as the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of America. I know. What?
I have no words.
The Boys and Girls Club of America.
Wow.
A job he's still in now. And so the Steiners, you asked before if that $3 million went to them. No, that was a criminal fine. But they did start fighting in the courts. Not long after all this happened, they filed a civil suit against eBay, against the CEO, against Steve Weimer, seeking about $500 million in damages. And their case was, it doesn't matter what you say, this terrorizing of us, the orders came from the top 100%. And the burden of proof in civil cases is less than in criminal cases. So it's essentially in criminal cases, you're innocent until proven guilty. In these kinds of civil cases, you have to prove that you're innocent. Mm-hmm. So it's there's more of a chance. They showed up to every single sentencing hearing for every single eBay employee who got convicted in court. They were there. I mean, she's a journalist. She's covering it. At one of those hearings in 2022, Ina told the court, there is a sadness in our lives and a sense of safety we used to take for granted is gone.
Absolutely.
In their 60 Minutes interview in 2023 and in the documentary Whatever It Takes Inside the eBay Scandal, they talked a lot about just how the effect it had on them psychologically. And there's a really sad moment where Ina says, they wanted to stop us publishing about them and they didn't. And then she says, quote, as hard as it is to admit though, in some ways they did succeed because David and I, and she pauses for this really long time and then she goes, we just aren't the same people.
Yeah.
We just aren't the same.
You wouldn't be.
People. They didn't stop her publishing though because they still have their website and they still write on e-commerce bites every single day, including about eBay. As recently as February, Ina wrote a story covering eBay's quarterly results and her thoughts about their new seller fee structures, which she didn't think were fair.
Burn.
So they didn't stop her publishing, but like she said, they succeeded in other ways.
Yeah.
And then this story actually, like just by coincidence, considering I just started researching it this past week, on the 2nd of March, so what's today? We're recording on the 11th, so like about a week ago.
Yeah.
It was meant to go to, like the civil proceedings were meant to begin, but they reached a settlement.
Ooh. I know I've been dying to be like, how much did they get?
The number is not
I
released.
hate when they do that.
But considering they were after 500 mil, you're never going to get close to what you initially asked for, but this is a Fortune 500 company and it is based, like there is so much evidence.
Let's say 100. Let's speculate and say, I'm going to say 100.
I hope 100 mil
Let's say 100.
for them.
Let's speculate, yeah.
Because the documentary and the eBay interview, they seemed, I wouldn't say they seemed like broken people, but they seemed like people who had been profoundly changed by this, but they hadn't won any money yet. And I'm hoping that might have helped.
With great amounts of money comes great change.
Yeah. I mean, it's it like, you know, they had I'm hoping that whatever they got last week after literally it was, 5 years of legal battles and like it was David Wenig and Steve Wyman and eBay kept like pulling all these legal maneuvers to like push dates back, draw it out. And then in the end they settle anyway. So it's like they've, not only did they go through this experience, which was a few months in 2019, feeling like their lives were under threat, but then they spent 5 years having to like battle legally. So it's just nuts. And I mean, the one thing that really stands out to me about this is like in corporate culture, there's this attitude by a lot of men, like there's such a misogyny, there's like gender dynamics, if we want to bring that into this, that like women are too emotional to be leaders. And so I pulled some stats here. I did some actual research. Yes, thank you. As of 2025, only 11% of Fortune 500 companies are run by women. And it's like, yet here we have a male CEO who had like what is possibly the most unhinged, emotionally ridiculous response to the most minor of inconveniences. Someone with a little e-commerce newsletter publishing a story about the fact that you get paid 152 times the average eBay employee.
And I'd say arguably boring stuff that like only people in that community would be interested in.
Like men literally say that women are too emotional for leadership, but men are the ones literally mailing you a fetal pig because you wrote about their salary. You know, like get effed, effed. Why are men? So that is just the gist of the eBay stalking scandal, which I think in the end is just a story about the breathtaking level of male fragility. And, you know, two genuinely sweet nerds who just want to, be a conduit where sellers could tell their problems, share information, and have a voice.
I love it. And we all need that space.
We all need that space. And you know what? They're still doing it. But you know what is craziest to me about this story is that eBay's motto, because you know how companies have mottos. Do you know what eBay's motto is? Have you ever?
No, I want to sell anything or like,
eBay's motto is people are basically good. What?
Asterisks.
Asterisks.
Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, terms and conditions apply. Okay, that was just
That's amazing. I'm also just like shocked that we hadn't heard of this story before.
Me too. Thank you, Gisna Olivia, for sending me this because I had not heard this story and I got so hyper fixated on it the last few days putting it together.
And now that you are, I suppose, sharing the story again with the world who may not hear it, if we receive any pig heads in the mail, We know who it is. Jim and your angels.
Jim's angels. I mean, Jim, what did Jim get again? He got
Jim's a pig.
Jim got 57 months, which I said before. Yeah, 57 months in prison. So he at least got a decent amount of time. But
do you feel for his angels?
Okay, here's the thing. It took me a while to find the documentary that I watched. I watched it on ABC iView, actually. And reading about all of this and like watching the 60 Minutes interview and stuff, you're like, F those bitches.
Yeah.
Like, kind of, because the story is framed like these people at the top of eBay ordered this head of security. He then brought in his team of like sexy undercover operatives called Jim's Angels, and they made this couple's life hell. But Veronica Z, I was glad I watched the documentary because she's incredibly honest and vulnerable being interviewed, and you realize just how young she is, how young, and this was 7 years ago now, like 2019. And she just talks about how it was a really weird, abusive, toxic culture. She was young. She felt like, well, these men know what they're doing. She felt lucky to have the job.
She's working at
they
eBay.
threatened her that like she would never get a job anywhere else. Like, it's the kind of thing where like, yeah, it's like maybe your first or second ever proper job and they tell you that's how things are done. So you're like,
you're just excited to be in the room. Like, yeah, I get that.
But she did say, like, yeah, when she was on the plane flying over, I think this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
And there are text messages that came up in legal proceedings when she was in Boston. She was messaging her mum and she's like, Mama, I want to come home.
Yeah.
I don't like this. This doesn't feel right. Like but she had no way of getting home because it was a business trip. Like, so seeing her in that documentary, I kind of realized, oh, these were young women and she seemed mortified by how caught up she'd got in it.
Yeah.
And also it's like crazy that, you know, of course, like Jim got about 5-6-ish years, but those women all got some form of detention. Yeah. But like the higher up executives, men didn't. All the women did.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Ugh.
that was just the gist of the eBay stalking scandal. A crazy,
that is a crazy story.
I know.
I'm going to think about this for ages.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lieber and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1, $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.